Every now and then there's a vehicle that is so good, and not necessarily because it breaks any new ground, but because it takes a bunch of the best stuff that's already out there and wraps it up in a stylish and practical package. And if it wasn't obvious by looking at it, the Toyota Crown Signia is absolutely one of those vehicles. You know what? I'll even take it a step further and say I think this is the best vehicle you can buy in Canada for less than 100 grand. For more expert car reviews, don't forget to share our channel and subscribe so you can catch some of this and maybe even a little of that. Okay, look, I know that's a bold claim, especially because there are plenty of properly premium vehicles that start at less than six figures. But that's sort of the whole point. Because to make the best ones, the best versions of themselves, well, it takes a lot of options and extras, which adds a ton to their asking prices, and it can often push them over that $100,000 mark. This one, 62 grand, all in before tax for this one I'm driving. That includes this premium paint job. That is quite the bargain. I know that makes it an even bolder claim, since that still means there's about 38 grand left below that imaginary ceiling. But again, that's the point. You are getting a lot of vehicle here. And it's not necessarily about maxing out that spend. It's not everything you can get for less than $100,000. It's about something being this good for this cheap. Okay, I do wish that you could get this with a plug-in hybrid powertrain. That is probably my biggest complaint. But this conventional hybrid setup, it's pretty good. It's also rated to burn 6.2 liters per 100 kilometers, although I have been doing worse this week, and I'm up close to 7 liters per 100, which is still pretty good. But it just goes to show you the standards that Toyota has set with this hybrid powertrain. The fact that I am doing this poorly, which really isn't that bad, but it's cold, it's winter time, but I expected a little bit more. I've rarely seen a Toyota hybrid burn this much more gas beyond its official combined consumption rating. So that is the one big bummer I have, and the fact you cannot get a plug-in hybrid powertrain like the one you can get in the Toyota RAV4, which, hey, Toyota's hybrid powertrains, whether plug-in or conventional, they're pretty much plug and play. They can use them in virtually any vehicle. So I would like to see that here. Now, Toyota offers two hybrid powertrains in the Crown sedan. There's a turbocharged one that's a little punchier than this 2.5 liter setup, but honestly, I think this is perfectly fine. Again, especially for the task at hand. This is a family-sized crossover. It's not a performance vehicle, and there is more than enough guts, although I will say it does get a little noisy. It sounds unrefined when you really give it a good shot of gas. That's another one of those minor complaints I have. Another one I have that's a little bit off topic, these big chunky A-pillars, they do restrict visibility just a little bit. And the same thing goes with this big digital rear view mirror. It's a camera-based system, but it's very thick and it sits lower on the windshield because of all the components behind it. So that obstructs visibility a little bit as well. But again, that pretty much sums up my issues with this vehicle. Anyway, jumping back to the powertrain, it's pretty seamless in its switch from gas to electric propulsion. It also prioritizes efficiency, especially in eco mode. It will coast quite often in nothing but electric mode, which is very cool. The other cool thing is you don't really have to work hard to modulate the throttle pedal to try to keep a constant speed. It's very easy to kind of find that speed in the city or out on the highway and just keep it going, which does make it that much more efficient since you're not constantly on and off the throttle. Otherwise, no real issues. Like I said, plenty of pulling power, something like 240 net horsepower, which is more than enough in an application like this one. Now, working with that 2.5 liter 4-cylinder gas engine, 3 separate electric motors. There's 2 of them up front, one of them that drives the wheels, the other one that puts energy into the battery. And then there is a separate electric motor in the back. That's what drives the rear wheels, and it's independent of the rest of the powertrain. It's fed by the same battery pack, but it's not dependent on what's happening under the hood. That means this thing has all-wheel drive, but it's more of a slip and grip system. When you accelerate from a stop, stuff like that, it will give you that all-wheel traction, but otherwise it prioritizes powering the front wheels, which I know some people have complaints about, but I don't see an issue with it. Now, something else you can't get here that you can get with the Crown sedan is adaptive suspension, but honestly, I really don't think this thing needs it. Even though it's just a conventional setup, it does a really nice job of absorbing most road imperfections and impacts when you hit them. Not much of it makes its way inside. It's pretty smooth, even with these big wheels and low profile tires that it's rolling around on. Yes, these ones are winter, so they're a little squishier, but even so, nothing but smoothness out on the open road. And that's exactly what you want to see in a crossover like this one. I'm really not sure why Toyota didn't call this thing the Camry Cross, considering that front end looks virtually identical to the one on the newest version of that sedan. Although it does feed my theory that Akio Toyoda was dead set on spreading the Crown name around the world before he stepped down as president and CEO of Toyota. Anyway, just take a look at this thing. To stick with the royal theme, it's the king or queen of practicality for this size. Is it a wagon? No, but that doesn't matter. Now, it is longer than the Subaru Outback, and that translates to more second row space. I cannot get over just how much legroom there is back here, although that has been prioritized over cargo room, at least on paper, because there's 702 liters back here compared to 923 in the Outback and more than 1,000 in the Toyota RAV4. But when you actually take a look back here, there is plenty of space for stuff, and that's especially true when you fold the second row seats. There's 1,872 liters, which is almost as much as the Toyota RAV4. And here is something I love. When you fold the second row seats, there are these little flaps that fold out, so you get a perfectly flat load floor all the way to the front seat backs. It's a nod to practicality I just love. There's a good amount of storage up here too, including this vertical slot for your smartphone that doubles as a wireless charger. And on that note, this thing has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, both of which run through this 12.3-inch touchscreen on the dash that is big, bright, and responsive. That is also paired with a digital instrument display. It's a little basic, but it does the job. I also want to point out no home button, which your favorite co-host and my boss, Jody Lai, absolutely loves. Although I will say, this does have this kind of taskbar that you can pull up beside. So you can choose to have a full screen display with either of those smartphone systems, or have that little toolbar there for some shortcuts to the radio and some settings. On top of all that stuff, you have an 11-speaker stereo, 5 USB-C ports, heated and ventilated front seats, a heated steering wheel, heated second row seats, this massive panoramic sunroof. There's a good amount of features here. And then it's got a full advanced safety suite because this is a Toyota. That includes adaptive cruise control, blind spot monitoring, lane keep assist, you know the drill. Now there is an optional advanced technology package, and that's how you brush this thing up with stuff like surround view monitoring, as well as front cross traffic alert and traffic jam assist. Although that works with this little driver monitoring camera that's down here on the steering column. I'm not so crazy about it, but it is nice because you can let the vehicle take control when you're stuck in stop and go traffic. Now there are a whole bunch of parameters that have to be met in order for that system to work, but it will run the show at speeds below about 40 kilometers an hour. So again, when you're stuck in traffic, it kind of takes the stress out. And once again, that to me is what this vehicle is all about. It's not quite premium, but it's pretty close. It's just comfortable, it's relaxed, it's easy to drive, and there's a ton of space in here. That to me is what makes this so special. To recap, I like how spacious and efficient the Crown Signia is, and its surefire dependability. I don't like that it isn't offered as a plug-in, that the powertrain gets noisy, and that there's only one trim in Canada. Okay, enough with the negativity and look at the bright side. For about 60 grand before tax, you can get into what I consider to be the best vehicle in Canada that looks great, barely burns any gas, and has tons of room inside. Now that doesn't mean this thing is perfect, because no vehicle is, but the Crown Signia comes pretty damn close for the asking price. I'm still with my good buddy Mike, who says we deserve the cheaper XLE trim here in Canada that's sold in the States, but that doesn't change my position on what's an otherwise awesome machine.